Hi, I'm Melissa Segundo. I'm your host of The Space. Today we have a fantastic guest with us. She's an activist, she's a human rights lawyer, she's the author of the book, This Is Why I Resist. We have the wonderful, amazing Shola.
Hello.
Welcome, Shola. Welcome to The Space.
Hello. And you didn't say my full name. Why?
Oh, no, listen, I can say your full name. I can say your full name.
No, it's not about not saying it, but you just introduced me as Shola, which is so typical. I think you start off with my full name and then call me Shola
But
afterwards.
Shola, you know what? I want to get to know Shola, if that makes sense. I think people know Dr. Shola. They know Shola Mos-Shogbamimu, but I want to know who is Shola. And that's why I've invited you to the space, because there are so many stories about you going head to head with Piers Morgan. You've debated him fiercely on the topic of Meghan Markle. You've been outspoken about Palestine. You've spoken on so many issues that are important to people. And the first question I have for you is, why are you so fearless?
I don't know about being fearless. I don't know. I think that's an interesting description because I'll be honest, I'm not thinking of feeling fearless when you hear me speak or engage in a particular discourse. I'm just feeling quite passionate on the issue and sometimes just royally pissed off. And that's just where I'm coming from because, I have an opinion on it and I accept that I'm very opinionated. And I give that opinion without fear or favor. And that this is what I think, this is how I feel about it. So I'm not necessarily feeling fearless. I suppose that those who don't like me and those who don't like what I have to say might see the other side of me, which is the side that says, I couldn't give a flying flamingo what you think. And I don't even know if that's fearless. I think that's just me going, I'm sorry, who are you?
Okay. So you don't think that's fearless? Because, you get a lot of resistance online. People are flying into your comment section.
Literally flying.
Literally parachuting into your comment section.
I don't even know if it's resistance. It's definitely opposition. And yes, they come in because, again, they don't like what I have to say. And they feel that this very vocal, visible Black woman needs to know her place. She needs putting down. She needs talking to. How dare you? That kind of thing. And I'm very much of the opinion that your opinion of me is none of my damn business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you describe it then? Because, you're a human being at the end of the day. Yeah. It's not nice to read negative comments. It's not nice to see racist abuse, thrown at you. But you're still motivated to continue to share your opinion, to stand your ground. Where did this come from? Where did this strong character of yours develop?
I first and foremost, my faith in God keeps me grounded. And it helps me to understand the truth from the lie. So let me just break that down. So, for instance, when I get all this racial abuse or sexist abuse or misogynoir, whichever category they fall into, one of the things that I feel like God has taught me is know the truth from the lie. So I remember, this was years ago now, somebody had, these haters, they will find a way to send you their opinion of you.
Oh, gosh.
So I remember seeing this comment on my YouTube channel. And the person said that Dr. Shola is an ugly monkey. And then it was literally as I was reading it, it was like my brain was comprehending what I was reading. Dr. Shola, that's me. Is an ugly... No. The Bible says that I'm wonderfully and fearfully made. So that's a lie.
Okay.
Monkey. Well, clearly I'm not a monkey. And immediately you can just dismiss it because that's not you. And I think there has to be a certain level of self-worth, self-awareness, and self-confidence. And for me, all those three come from, again, my faith, comes from my upbringing, and comes from lived experiences. It gets to a point in your life where you kind of go, no, this is who I am. I know what you're trying to do. but I'm not going to let you define who I am. And the way I choose to express myself is perfectly fine for me. The way I choose to put myself out there or present myself is up to me, not up to you. So if there are people who go, well, does she have to talk that way? Yes, I do. Does she have to say it like that? Yes, I do. Well, if she could just be calmer. Child, this is me calm. This is me calm. And so people always try to police tone you. And I think I just got to a point, and probably when I hit 40, to be honest, when I went, what? Like, seriously, no. I remember it was the year that I turned 40 that I cut my hair. And it's only years later that I recognize it as symbolizing something. But at that time, I was just fed up. And I remember my hair was in twists. I told my husband, get a clippers, just cut off my hair. It was like, no, cut my hair off. Just, oh, don't you want, no. So he now starts cutting the whole thing off. And I'm like, for me to have taken that decision when for the first 40 years of my life, I never thought short hair suit me, or that, or my forehead, I know that I thought my forehead was too big. But
did you?
I did. I don't know, for some reason. I would always do my hair with something coming to the front. But something happened to me when I turned 40 that I was kind of self-liberated from whatever the heck it was that used to, I don't know, whichever way I constrained myself or restrained myself. Why? And I think from then, I started to give voice to my voice in a way that I recognize. I don't think I didn't give voice to my voice in my 30s or 20s, but not the way I have in my 40s. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. That does make sense.
And I understand that this has been part of my own personal journey. You know, I did other things in my 30s and 20s that were necessary for my evolution. And so for me to be where I am today, and these people come in, slide into my DMs, send me
No, in a good way.
emails, blah, blah, blah. And I think that the grown woman who God has brought this far will now will be quaking because you don't like me. Please kiss my royal black chuddy. Join the queue. There's a queue over there. Go join them.
But it's interesting you say that you didn't feel like you really expressed your voice how you wanted to, because you've been a lawyer, you know,
Correct.
throughout your life, haven't you? And I know you spoke to Naomi Campbell about this, about cutting your hair.
Yeah.
And you said how, as a lawyer, you sort of felt like you had to fit into like a European sort of standard of looking. What challenges did you face during your career that sort of made you feel like you couldn't express yourself? Because being a lawyer, I mean, you have to be quite vocal, don't you?
The interesting thing is none of these things were at the forefront of my head. It was subconscious. It wasn't something I talked about. You kind of just knew what you had to do and what you shouldn't do, or how you were meant to comport yourself. But at the same time, I don't know how to explain it to you. At the same time, those periods of my life, it wasn't like I wasn't vocal. I wasn't there yet. I can't explain. So I was vocal on things that I needed to be, depending on where I needed, whether it was my career ambition, academic ambition. I was, vocal on all of those things. And I did not even think I was being restrained. I didn't think that I was even holding myself back in certain ways. There was just an awakening. An awakening that came over time. An awakening that made me understand how I need to decolonize my mind. I need to decolonize my body. I need to decolonize even my way of thinking, which means I'm unpicking my learning. When I was writing my book, This Is Why I Resist, some things came as a shock to me. It was me learning things about myself. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize. So for instance, I remember coming to the realization that a lot of the time when I used plasters, like growing up, you have a tear or you put a plaster on it. And that those plasters they didn't match the color of my skin. I didn't question it growing up. I didn't even know I could question it. It did not seem like it was even important enough, but it was important. Only for me to realize that this was all parts of some kind of systemic thing, just to create plasters and things like that in colors without thinking about people like me. So, I mean, even as I write it in the book, you come to me like, what the hell? How did I not know this? How did I not even realize this, right? Or there were other things like I didn't realize how exhausted I was. So when I say exhausted, I feel like I had been compartmentalizing things. You know, as I feel like when we go through stuff, especially Black women, you don't have time to grieve. You don't have time to mourn. You may cry a little, but you better pick yourself up sharp, because you need to keep moving. You need to keep it moving. You're crying, keep moving. You're upset, keep moving. You feel sad, keep moving. You just feel that something, keep moving. There's no time to just go, okay, I can't do anything. You just have to keep moving. Only, I think, for me in my 40s to realize how much of that I have done in my life. I mean, technically up to the age of maybe 17 or 18, I probably didn't think of a lot of things because, come on. But just think about that, oh my goodness, a lot of the time I'm just pushing myself through. And that there are things in place that make it difficult for me to be anything other than, can I just be vulnerable right now? There are times I've cried in the bathroom at work. But I wipe those tears off as I'm walking out, before I walk out of the restroom, because we need to keep moving on.
Tell me about those times when you cried. What was happening?
There are times where I thought, oh, can I do this? Can I move forward? Oh, I didn't get a promotion. Why? And I know why I didn't get a promotion. Either because, there were different kinds of situations where you've worked twice as hard as everybody else. But it looks as though you got a promotion because you got a secondment or something. But still, you should still get this promotion, but you're not getting the promotion. Or for instance, I remember when I was doing my PhD, and through my PhD, I had my first 2 kids. I qualified as a New York attorney. I was working, my career, I was as an in-house lawyer, working and, increasing and growing in my career. But I was still doing this PhD.
With 2 kids?
Yes. There was no... And I remember one time I was at work and I went to the bathroom, and I think I'd seen a feedback from my supervisor about, well, maybe you should consider reading more about anthropology or from this perspective. And I was like, I think there's even psychology. My PhD is in law. And I'm like, I don't want to. In fact, I'm tired. And I think I cried in the bathroom. And I realized that when I cried, I needed to shed those tears. I needed release. Wiped my face, got up, went back to work. Now, all of those things helped to make me who I am today, because by the grace of God, I did get that doctorate degree. And I still remember going for my viva. And after all the years put together to write this thesis, and the examiners did not have one single rebuttal, not one single, well, we think you should go back and just, listen, Melissa, hey, the way these knees of mine touch the ground, say, Jesus, hey, Father in heaven, angels, start to praise God for me. Let the host in heaven start singing praises. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. I was like, oh my goodness. Because no one looking at me from the outside would think that I had pockets of, can I do this? I remember speaking to my dad, because he died about 4 months after I had my graduation on my thesis, passed the thing. And I remember going to see him. He had prostate cancer. And so I'd flown over to Chicago to see him. And I was just talking to him. I said, I finished this, but I still want to do my MBA. Oh, but Daddy, I'm tired. He said, don't worry. You'll do it. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. You do it. I was like, oh. Remember, I had 2 kids. I had my job, blah, blah, blah. And he then died the January. And I remember that I was, I think I was 4 months or 5 months pregnant at the time. Oh, that the pregnancy, God bless my 3rd child, but that one kind of like took us. I was like, okay, we're pregnant. But I remember when he passed away, and he was 64. He was. To me, that was so young. The February, Melissa, we had buried him and everything in January. And I said to myself, if there's any time you're going to do this MBA you want to do, it should be now. Because I don't know how I'm going to feel in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years' time. So I applied. And I applied to the only university I was interested in going to, which is Cambridge University, to do the executive MBA, because I had to keep working and do this executive MBA. And I remember them as part of, applying for it. You have to do what they call GMAT.
Yes, I've heard of this.
Sis, you see, there's a reason why Maths and I are not friends. Okay? But imagine I have not a 9-to-5 job as a lawyer. Come on, I'm talking about 9-to-6 with heavy volumes, 2 kids, raising them. And I remember buying the GMAT books, and I remember opening them up and going, what the hell? How am I going to make time for this now? With pregnancy, how? So I just felt God say, write to university and make a case. So I wrote saying that based on my qualifications, professional qualifications, academic qualifications, because I think I had my LLB, LLM, I had an MA in diplomatic studies, I had the PhD. So I was now explaining to them in the letter why, based on my qualifications and the transferable skills from these qualifications, that an additional requirement like GMAT is not necessary, because ABC, and I bring DEF, blah, blah, blah. When I finished writing, I said, in the name of Jesus, Father in heaven, hey, please bless this letter. Like, bless me that they will say blah, blah. Because I was thinking, how am I going to start revising and doing all the things? Only for me to get a response back from Cambridge saying, yeah, that's fine. You don't need to do the GMAT. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me. And funny enough, that was February. And by September that same year, I started my executive MBA at Cambridge University, and my youngest child was 2 months old.
I don't know how you do it, because you do the impossible, to be honest.
I don't know if it's impossible. It's all possible by God's grace.
It is,
yes.
But I mean, some people can't even fathom the thought of trying to do the things that you've done and the things you've achieved. But I know that you've described your dad as a male feminist.
Yes.
And it sounds to me like he was really a guiding light in your life. So when he passed away before you had gone on to do your MBA, how did you cope with that? Because you went from burying him straight into it. Did you feel like you had to do this to sort of fulfill what he had wanted you to do?
I'm still grieving. It's been 12 years, and I still feel like I'm grieving his loss. There are many things that I've done in my life since he passed away that I knew it would just be sweeter if he was still alive. I think he's passing away. What that did was teach me about how short life is. And I'm so glad I made the decision. That thinking, I thought, Daddy passed away at 64. If I want to do this is the right time to do it. Because 2 years later, when I'd finished the executive MBA, I remember my husband actually. So before I'd done the executive MBA, while we were all, really happy about the PhD, I remember my husband coming into the room and going, so when are we doing our executive MBA? And he didn't even know that at that moment I was looking at the laptop, researching what university to go to. Right. So 2 years later, when I'd done the MBA, I knew I was done with my academic pursuits. And I think that with my dad passing away, I think another layer of strength is the best way I can describe it. Because for a good few years after he passed away, it's so difficult to explain how you process loss and grief in such different ways. It was the first time in my life that anyone I loved had died.
Okay.
And I don't think anybody can teach you how to deal with that or how to process that. And I think I'm still processing. I used to be a bit ticked off, to be honest with you, when I think my siblings would be like, oh, they had a dream about daddy. I'm like, so what's his problem? Why hasn't he come to me in a dream? What's the issue? I'm like, so why haven't I joined that kind of thing? But I think it gave me another layer of, like I said, strength. And then you become a parent yourself. And life you start to live life in a way that I think becoming a parent, I did not have much time to think about me. I might think about my career, but even thinking about my career, it was really more, okay, if we do this now, then the kids, then blah, trying to, plan and manage, blah, blah, blah. I remember my husband in my 30s telling me things like, we'll be on holiday, but he'll tell me, you're not present. So what do you mean I'm not present? No, who's talking to you? My shadow. Is it my shadow talking to you? I said, Shola, come on. Because even then, I'm thinking about work, or I have my chapter of a PhD, something I'm writing. So everything, it was trying to juggle so much at the same. I remember us being on a holiday in Orlando, and I was on a conference call. Finishing a conference call, I was packing up things because we're taking the kids to Universal Studios. So I was finishing off the conference call, blah, blah, blah. All that was in my mind was what the kids needed. So I had things in the cooler. I had snacks. I had blah, blah, everything. Pack it, everywhere. Okay, into the car. Let's go. Only for us to get to Universal. And I find that I'd forgotten to wear my shoes. Sis, hey, do you know how hot it was?
You forgot to wear your shoes?
I forgot to. Everybody else, everyone was sorted. Everyone was comfortable. Kids had everything they needed. Didn't forget anything for anybody else but me. So that the moment my barefoot stepped the ground, I said, Jesus, hey, this is hot. I had to go buy some expensive pair of slippers. I was like, what?
Sorry, who was driving?
Husband was driving.
Your husband.
Yeah.
So you're in the passenger seat.
Yes.
Shoeless.
And
you get out of the car, and that's when you realize.
That's when I realized. Because all I'm thinking, okay, get into the car. Let's okay, this is it. Blah, blah. Did you forget? Okay, let's get that. Because my mind is going 10 toes up about everything for me. But I think a lot of things changed for me when I turned 40. Again, I didn't realize this until years after, that some kind of light bulb went like that. And I just went, I don't care. You know what? I don't, whatever rule there is, I'm going to break every single one of them. I don't even know that I made that choice like consciously. I just started to do it as it applied to me.
Okay.
And I think that kind of feeds into the way you see me respond to opposition.
Oh, yeah. We have seen you. The world has seen you and how you respond to opposition. So you've had some pretty viral moments, I would say. I don't know if you remember Kate Garraway when she failed to pronounce your name.
Oh Kate, yeah.
Shola.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think why people gravitate to you a lot as well is that you are the version that they wish they could be, Oh. I think so. I think that the way that you respond to things that people go through on a daily basis, such as what happened with you and Kate Garraway, I think that people wish they could have responded like that when it's happened to them, because it happens to people so much. I'm malicious, Sagundu, I don't even know anymore, So what was going through your mind when she was failing to pronounce your name? Because I mean, naturally people don't respond straight away, but it's almost like you expected it in a way.
No, I did not expect it. I promise you. It wasn't something I expected. I think that, let me let you into a little something. Shola of the of my late teens and up to, I think, when I was in my mid-20s, those kind of instances, I'd be quiet. And then I would be reimagining that conversation in my head and what I would have said.
Okay.
And how I would have responded. Something happened to me along the way in my late 20s and early 30s when I decided, you know what? It's either you or me. And I don't want to go home having those conversations in my head ever again. So when they do happen, I'm just going to nip it in the bud there and then. Because you see, I would be happier. I would know I said something. Maybe there's some things I don't respond to because in that moment, I probably really, it doesn't matter as much. But even responding to Kate was not, I wasn't even trying to be controversial. It was really more, just say my name. I mean,
it's really not controversial at all.
Just, like, say, oh, I'm not trying to be funny. I think she said something like, I'm not trying to be funny. Just woke up. This is how I am with everyone. I don't care. So just say the name. You're introducing me. So just try. But yeah, that was it. But again, my lived experiences have helped shape who I am today. You would not believe the teens me, the early 20s me, where because it's someone of authority, it could be the school administrator. And when I say it could be the university administrator, I remember once they came into my accommodation in university, and they were like, oh, they have to look through the flat, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember why exactly I was upset, because I'm old now. But something upset me about it, and I kind of felt that I kind of felt slighted in the way they spoke to me and the way they behaved. So I remember saying to my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, I look how they spoke to me. Like, it's so wrong. I mean, why were they talking to me like this?
Oh, wow.
You know, just things like that made me go, the next time someone speaks to me in a way I don't like, I'm just going to tell you I don't like it. We'll simply just have it out there and then. Because, part of my upbringing is you have to be respectful to authority and to those older than you. My mother will probably not believe that I still hear her voice when she's, Shola, that's how you talk to somebody. And sometimes I literally have to silence that voice because I'm like, excuse you. So when I said to you earlier, that I decided, somehow unconsciously, decided to break every rule. That was me breaking myself free, which is, like then, when I hear that voice, you have to be, blah, blah. Oh, why? This is wrong. Or I remember my dad, he used to say to me, Shola, don't wear your heart on your sleeve. But Daddy, did you see what that person did? I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. I know. You don't have to wear your heart on your sleeve. It's not everything you have to.
But you didn't listen to that.
I listened to, I think what my dad was really good at was he always let me vent.
Okay.
He was one of those dads. I remember I would pick up the phone. I remember this time I'd done my law school exams and I'd failed a paper or two, and I had to resit them. Melissa, if you had been a fly on the wall in the conversation I had with my dad, this is him in Lagos, me in London. I was angry. I was so angry. And I was crying. I was upset. I was furious. Why? How? Oh, what is it? Bob, I had plans. I need to do that so I can then move on to do my master's. I had plans. This is holding me. And my father was just quiet, listening to me. And I vented. I mean, when I say vent, I'm remembering the emotion right now. And what does my dad say to me when I'm done? When I'm spent? He goes, you should thank God you're experiencing this now and not in your 40s. I'm like, what kind of advice is that, Daddy? I mean, I don't understand. But I understand now. He was so right. I understood probably few years later because all of those experiences made me stronger. Because I didn't go, oh, now I'm not going to do it. That's it. I had to go back to the drawing board. I remember being even angry with God at one point. I remember doing my professional exam and not hitting the mark. There's a cutoff mark. So I got below that cutoff mark, which meant I had to resit the whole exam again. I was at work. I was at the law firm. Do you know, I picked up the phone, called the partner, said I have to go home. Do you know when your mind, like, listen, you can't see the wood. Everything, you just see red. I can't say, there was no lie. There wasn't, oh, I'm sick, nothing. I need to go home. And I just kept it in. I got my bag, kept it in as I walked out of the office, as I got on the train, as I got on the bus. The moment I opened my front door and I walked through that door, oh, I just went, God, what the? And I just started talking to God. I'm doing it. Again, I mean, God is great because he lets me vent. And I at that moment, I have a close relationship with God. I have a relationship with God. I don't do religion, right? I wake up in the morning and say, hello, Father. Good morning, Father. Father, you know that thing we were talking about? That kind.
Okay,
I have a relationship with God, right?
Mm.
So this is me talking to God. I don't even know if my neighbors could hear me. I don't care. I was crying. I was upset. And at the end of my vent, I said to God, okay, you know what? I can't say you don't exist, but clearly something isn't working here. So you do you, and I'm going to do me. For 3 days, I didn't go to, I think I was doing a master's degree at the time. I didn't go to class and I didn't go to work. Stayed in, covered myself with my duvet. That's it. 3 days. I have no idea. But 3 days later, Melissa, something was happening. How in the mess that I was feeling, I started to feel hope. And I think I just turned 25. There was hope. Where could this hope possibly be coming from? Because when I look physically, I'm not necessarily seeing anything to feel hopeful about. But there was this hope. And I remember going to celebrate my birthday with my siblings and my boyfriend, now husband. And it's just like God just transformed my thinking. And from that day till now, whenever I feel down, that hope rears its head. And I feel hopeful. And I know by the grace of God, I can do it. And I need to keep pushing through and that it will work out. That my journey is not the same journey as everybody else's. That there's a reason I go through what I go through. And there's a reason for the experiences. And it's over time, Melissa, over like my late 20s into all of my 30s and now in my 40s, that I realize I've got capital from these experiences that I can share. That's made me stronger, better, more, broadened my mind and my thinking. Not perfect, because that would be aiming too high. So it's things like that. So again, when these oppositions come, I don't know who they think they're talking to. They must have a picture or an impression of me that doesn't match my reality because they don't know who I am, where I've come from, or what fire has forged me. I've given you examples, maybe professional, career, school, but you can imagine that there's a whole lot more going on, right?
Yeah, it's evident.
Exactly. There's a whole lot more. And all of those things help to shape who you become so that nobody can come to you, Melissa, and try to define who you are. Not after everything God has. So God hasn't brought me this far.
Just to get this far. You know what? I think that your persistence and your hope and continuing to persevere no matter what comes is evident. Because I remember, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was last year or maybe the year before, 2022, when you received these hateful messages. that are delivered to your home.
Yes, yes.
I remember you posted the screenshot of the letter.
Yeah.
And I remember reading through it, and I remember saying, like, you know, I didn't even want to repeat the things that were being said in there because they were so heinous and so hateful. And I don't know how you coped during that time, how you got through it. But at the end of it, you said, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to shut myself down and stop being me. I'm going to continue. Is it that hope that made you do that?
It definitely my faith. And sometimes, because I still remember how I felt when I saw the letter, when I read it. And you know, when you act when you're walking in motion, you're not necessarily processing what you need to do next, but you're just doing it. And it took me time to process how I felt about what had happened. Because my first thoughts were protect my family, you know, get the police involved, let people know what's going on. But more importantly, I've begun to understand that it's so important for me to also protect my mental health, myself. If they can get to you emotionally and mentally, that's half the job done. Do you see? So it's one thing for you to think, oh, is my physical person at risk? Because that was the reality of that letter. But when there's a pylon, whether it's online, offline, is aimed at you emotionally, mentally, and psychologically. If you're not like the house built on the rock, then when the wind comes, immediately, if you're a house made of sand, when the wind comes, you will, and that sand is you're performative. You're doing things because of how you want people to perceive you. You want people to like you, things like that. But that's not where I'm from, and that's not why I do what I do. When people show me appreciation, it genuinely surprises me because I'm not expecting it. In fact, sometimes I don't even feel seen.
Really?
I'm being perfectly honest. And I mean, for those who might watch this, who've met me on the street and come to me and say hello, thank you. Because I don't know how to describe it. I don't feel seen. I'm not asking to be seen. I'm just saying that it's when I hear from people who don't know me, who may send me messages, positive messages, or may reach out to me when they meet me on the street. That is when I go, oh my God, you heard what I said. You understood. Right? I feel seen, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Because in the moment, whether it was, when people sometimes refer to all those debates you do, whether it was Piers Morgan or somebody else, in that moment, I'm not thinking about anybody else. I'm in the moment. We are wearing the same trouser. I'm dealing with the issue. I'm not thinking about, what would people say? That is not even in my vocabulary. I'm like, hey, okay, hold on. Let me just roll up my sleeves. What did you say? That's where I'm at. It's afterwards. If you even ask me what I said in that moment, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Because it's not premeditated. I'm responding from here. So yeah, I'll be honest that when you then get really ugly opposition, I mean, I've had to report some really terrible, malicious communications, racist ones, rape threats, all kinds of things to the police. And, but I do that because I know that's the sensible thing to do. Not because I'm expecting that, they would find this person. I think there's been one conviction, actually. There has been one conviction of someone who sent me a racist tweet, who was successfully prosecuted and pled guilty, I think, something like that. I didn't even talk about that. I don't even talk about the attacks I then get. A lot of the time when you see these people online, you think, these people, you kind of have the words bigots. you kind of imagine them, or people tend to take them to be, or you can't take them too seriously, or take them seriously. They are not, they are maybe not well educated, blah, blah, blah. This is a lie. A lot of them are well educated. And then in the professional circles, I would have, there are people who then report me or make complaints to my regulators, or should I say regulator, to try and see how can we really hurt her? How can we get her fired? How can we hurt her pocket? How can we complain to as many newsrooms as possible?
Gosh.
How can we get her deported?
Yeah.
Things like that. And I know it is the good Lord who is covering me and protecting me, because a lot of these things, sometimes I don't see them, but they're happening behind the scenes, right? And you don't know what decision is being made by whom to either respond to these threats and to these, the abuses. And then, you kind of take it from there. So a lot of the time when these things happen, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my faith in God. I'm grateful for God, because I go to where I go home. My home is God. He's my shelter. Immediately when I just withdraw in, and the Bible passage that talks about those who run into the tower of the Almighty, abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That's where I'm abiding, people. The sun is shining hard, but there's a covering. So as they're going, hello. Yes, I'll have some Coke now, thank you. Maybe not Coke. I think we're boycotting Coke right now. But you know what I mean? And that keeps me like cocoon, just safe. And when, as I said earlier, I've also learned to start to, self-care. Self-care was not in my vocabulary before COVID. Melissa, self-care for what? What are you talking about? Come on, people. There's plenty of time to sleep when I die. I'm busy. I'm doing this. Okay, I'm traveling here. I need to speak there. I'm doing that. I'm going to just. But when COVID hit, and I had no choice but to spend time with myself, finally seeing what my husband and kids have to go through. Because they would be like, do you really have to stay at home, mommy?
Oh, they didn't even want you home? What, because you were constantly on the go?
They prefer it when I'm not in their hair.
Okay.
And I don't blame them. I'm very, very, always into everybody. Well, why are you doing that? Why you, no? Okay. Why would you, that kind of thing. And so that self-care journey for me started in, during that COVID period. Finally, kind of separating the noise and learning to just be quiet. And in the last few years, I've noticed that there are periods of time in the year, one particular period of time in the year when I do less. It might not look like it, but I do less engagement on social media. Okay. It might not look like it.
Okay.
It just looks like, I remember the first time it started, I felt like the Holy Spirit was saying, if you don't say anything, it will be okay. The world will still move on, but you need to rest. But did you just see what? No, but you don't need to, because whenever I engage online or offline, it's the same energy I'm using. Just like you, there's mental energy that goes into this, physical or emotional energy. Even if you're just sitting now, there's that engagement. Yeah. And I realized that sometimes I just need to take a break.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So when all this kind of oppositions come through, I'm grateful to God in my evolution and my growth as a human being. I'm learning, not only am I learning more about myself, I'm also learning, hopefully better, how to deal, with these things, because the stronger you get, the stronger the opposition is. So the opposition I deal with now is not the same level of opposition of 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It's a louder opposition, stronger opposition, but to the glory of God, he who is with me is greater than those who are against me. So.
Yeah, I have one last question for you, because I've been, I've been asked this myself. People will say to me, Melissa, why are you so radical? Or do you think you're radical? Or do people think your partner, does he think you're radical? And I'm like, radical about what? Radical about telling people what's going on in the world, radical about saying, please pronounce my name properly.
Yes.
Do you feel that people see you as radical, and what do you say to that?
I think people do see me as radical. But that framing of being radical is, I find it interesting, because the only thing radical about me is that I use my God-given mouth to tell the truth. So it means that I'm not the one who is radical. The truth is radical. You just don't like the fact that the truth is coming out of my mouth. And I could not give a flying flamingo how you feel about it.
Mm.
That is where they get a lot of attitude. Like, well, you didn't have to say it like that. If you have to say it, must you say it at all? Yes, I had to say it. And the fact that it is coming from me, it means that I have to say the only way Shola can say it. If it's coming from somebody else, they may say it in a way that is consistent with who they are. But since it's coming from me, you're going to get a lot of this. You're going to get, I'm Nigerian, so my body communicates with the words that come out of my mouth. You're going to get a lot of that. So, like I said, the only thing radical about me, to my mind, is the truth that comes out of my mouth. So that means it's actually the truth that is radical.
Yeah, I believe that as well, because I've had people say, like, if I've spoken about, Black maternal death rates, people are like, but why is it racism though? Why are you saying it's linked with race? It's like, because it is.
Yes.
Yeah, but people see that as radical. You know what? We're out of time,
No.
unfortunately.
How is that possible?
I know.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, it literally flew by. But before we go, I just want to give you something, and also to tell you that you are seen, Shola. You are very much seen. People love you, respect you. And let me just get you something.
Thank you.
I know we're running out of time, but I'm just going to do this quickly. Then Shola, I'm going to give you your flowers.
You're too kind. Thank you so much. Oh, you're so sweet.
These are your flowers.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so lovely.
This
is lovely. Thank you.
This is, well, by the time this goes out, it won't be Black History Month anymore, but it's been Black History Month. And a lot of the people I've spoken about or shared their stories, I don't think they got their flowers while they were still here. And I think we need to start doing that more often. So I wanted to give you your flowers because you fully deserve them. And we absolutely adore you.
This. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Oh, okay. My spirit is singing. Thank you, Jesus. This is beautiful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, yeah, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have Shola here. And if you'd like to see more of this content, please subscribe, please like, and please share. And you can also follow me on Twitter at melissa.segudo. And you can subscribe to the Source newsletter, which is about Black, Asian, and Arab news, which I round up weekly. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. And this has been The Space. Goodbye.